So that's Beirut on Sunday. Each side getting in their last licks, it appears. Hezbollah launching heavy strikes against Israel in weeks with a barrage of more than 200 rockets. Reports indicate the two sides could be close to a ceasefire agreement. There are a lot of alerts going on the wires right now. We'll see what comes to pass. Maybe later today, maybe into tomorrow. General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. And General, good morning to you. Bear in mind that Hezbollah in Lebanon fired into Israel on the 8th of October a year ago. This after Hamas raided southern Israel out of Gaza. And they've been at it ever since. The idea would be this, however. Take Hezbollah and move them north of the Litani River. All their forces, that's 18, 20 miles of a buffer zone, then have the Lebanese military fill in that area as opposed to Hezbollah fighters. Can they get it done? Will it work?
Well, we'll see. I think certainly this ceasefire and potential negotiation, we broke news on this on your show weeks ago when the Israelis were reaching out to deal with this. So our audience understands the objective here to the Israelis has always been limited. It's not what in Gaza, defeat Hamas and then destroy as many of the fighters as possible, which is still ongoing, but yet obviously winding down. Here, it's just that area you showed on the map is key terrain. What the Israelis have wanted to do between their border and the Litani River is remove Hezbollah from that area. And they have essentially done that and destroyed all the infrastructure. Why? Because it's from that area, from the Litani River south to the border, that they've been firing into northern Israel, and 60,000 to 70,000 Israelis have displaced. So the whole campaign, decapitating Hezbollah's leadership, as we've seen going on for weeks, rockets and missiles destroying Hezbollah's rockets, but particular focus on long-range missiles, and then the third thing, clearing out of the Hezbollah fighters in that area. That has been accomplished, and that's why Hezbollah is willing to negotiate, given the comprehensive nature of this campaign. The real issue will be will the Israelis, as part of the agreement bill, if Hezbollah moves back in, they have the right to go and attack that area again to eliminate that threat. Israelis want that as a provision of the agreement because the UN resolution back in 2006 after that war had an agreement like we're talking about here. UN peacekeepers were going to enforce it in that area. That failed miserably. That's not going to happen here. Will the Lebanese army be able to do that? Israelis have huge suspicion about that. So that's why they want that provision. This is interesting, Bill. Iran has told Hezbollah, make the deal. That is interesting because I have said for a long time Iran is back on their heels. Both of their proxies have certainly not accomplished what they wanted to accomplish, and Iran itself no longer has an air defense system that's worthy of protecting itself.
Well, that last point makes a lot of sense. 5:18 in the evening, we look at the skyline there in Beirut. Now to Ukraine. We get a new president about 55 some odd days from now. Here is Michael Waltz, expected to be part of his cabinet, national security pick, talking about Ukraine and the escalation we have seen in the past 2 weeks.
One side escalating, the other side escalating. This needs to be within a broader framework to end this conflict. It is more like World War I trench warfare. President Trump is incredibly concerned about the carnage that is taking place there. We need to bring this to a responsible end. We need to restore deterrence, restore peace, and get ahead of this escalation ladder rather than responding to it.
General, I don't know how you want to react to that. What is the resolution in Ukraine, if you see one now?
Well, first of all, the only people that really want the war to continue is Putin and his ultranationalists. The Ukrainians didn't want war in 2014. They didn't want it in 22 when Russia invaded, and they don't want it now. 53% of Ukrainian people would like this war to end because of the incredible suffering that's taken place among that population. That's the reality of this. But what this has got to be about, I mean, we're not arbitrating a deal between a union and a corporation and try to have it come out neutral. We have to work a deal in favor of the Ukrainians. And I think President Trump knows this because to make the deal successful, we have to have some leverage. the use of ATACMS gives us leverage. Give the Ukrainians what they need to do to get as much leverage in going into the deal. I think it would be worthwhile for the Trump administration, once they're in power, to look at this collectively with the whole national security team, put together a good negotiating team, and recognize full well where Putin's coming from.
Sure.
He doesn't want a deal. He believes he's going to win. He wants to topple the regime in Kyiv. It's not about Crimea and the Donbass region where the operation's going on. This is about toppling the government so he can take control. That has been his motivation. He will never give up that aspiration. Even if there is a deal, Bill, he will violate it because he's violated every ceasefire in Ukraine previously and in Syria. And his aspiration, then he'll play the long game to take Ukraine eventually. So that's who we're dealing with. And we got to force him into a deal where we have some leverage over him.
Thank you, General. Could be the front lines for Cold War 2.0. Thank you, sir. We'll speak during the week. Jack Keane, thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.